What's up? I've got the day off and I figured I would kind of talk through all the running shoes that are in my closet, kind of tell you a little more about them. I used to run in a run specialty store here in San Francisco at a Runner's Mind. Probably one of the best running shoe stores kind of in the Bay Area. They do a great job kind of fitting you, going through the whole like gait analysis process, just making sure we get you in the right shoe. Walk through and kind of explain each of the shoes. Most of these shoes I've got for free just from working there over time. So I figured I'll kind of show you which ones are my favorites, but just kind of explain each shoe and what might work better for you and maybe some of the things to look for when you are picking a running shoe. The first thing when it comes to running shoes, I mean, running doesn't have to be that complicated, but you got shoes that are a little softer, a little firmer. You have a little bit of cushion, medium cushion, high cushion, and I guess sometimes max cushion. And then you've got those shoes that have, sure, you've heard of them. They've got a carbon plate in them. Some shoes have like a nylon plate, some have plastic plates. And the whole point of that is usually those shoes have a lighter, not as dense foam, but they are super light, really responsive foams. And that plate that's in there gives it a little bit of rigidity and you get a ton of energy return. That's kind of the main use for those type of shoes. Most of the running that you're gonna be doing is gonna be in a daily trainer, whether that's light, moderate, or high cushioned. And I'll kind of show you some of those that we've got, or that I've got. All right, first shoe starting off with from Nike is the Pegasus. You talk to anyone and they probably ran in some version of this shoe over the years. I think the last version I ran in were the 30s, and they're on the 40 right now. It's just a pretty solid all-around daily trainer. Kind of compared to most of the shoes that are on the market now, doesn't have a ton of cushion. Nike, for those that don't know, tends to run a little more narrow, kind of in the midfoot at times. So anytime you see someone's kind of foot kind of spilling over right there, that's kind of how you know. I think they've widened it up a little bit. Shoe I'll use for kind of like my easy days. I've used them for a couple workouts if I'm wanting to try and actually focus on my form a little more. I like this shoe for cross training. Because there's not as much cushion. That's usually what I recommend for people when they're looking for a shoe that they want to use for a little bit of everything. So Peg 40 is definitely in that realm. So next shoe, all right, here we got the new Nike Infinity React. This is technically one of their stability shoes. That was the other thing I forgot to talk about in terms of types of running shoes. They'll call them neutral, where there's not going to be a stability feature in the shoe. All that means is as you're running and you want to have a little bit of pronation and supination occurring, it's only when you get into that kind of over pronation and over supination where a shoe that has some type of stability feature can help you just kind of keep you in line, especially if you are kind of newer to running. Kind of the new trend that's going on, especially kind of with this shoe, they'll kind of use, you could kind of see the kind of contouring they'll do on this medial side and this lateral side. I think they call it more of like a dynamic stability type of shoe where they're not trying to like force your foot to stay in a certain position, but it'll kind of absorb the impact, and naturally the way the foam is shaped will kind of guide you into a more neutral position, just so it's not as like kind of intrusive, where there are some shoes that are still being made that are they just feel like you're running on bricks and you're like your foot's not moving anywhere, that's for sure. Upper is pretty soft. It's definitely more of like a, if anyone remembers like the Nike free runs and Flyknit stuff, it's like kind of like a Flyknit upper, really kind of stuck to the foot. Foam is pretty soft. It's their Nike React foam. Doing strides in this, it does feel pretty good. This shoe, because of the upper fit, for me does feel a little bit narrow. I would want a little more space. This Nike sign right here is right where the edge of my pinky toe is, so it does sometimes kind of rub up on it, but only on one foot. Kind of weird, but pretty solid. Looks good too. Not the current version, sister or brother of the Pegasus. This is the Peg Trail. This is the Peg Trail 3. They do have the 4th version that did get an update. Doesn't have this like flared lip out. It was because of trail running. But as far as trail shoes goes, this isn't the most aggressive one, as you can see. I've pulled this shoe for customers just saying it's probably one of the more versatile shoes. I would kind of call this a cross-country travel do-it-all shoe. I've taken this shoe to Europe and did road running in it, ran trails, ran a trail race in this shoe. Fits a little wider than I think they're traditional road shoes, which is what I kind of like. I actually started running without the liner in this shoe because it allowed me to have a little more space, and I feel like when you're on trail, you're on your feet for a little longer, so I like having a little bit of space for my feet to swell. I'll still wear it for some trail runs, and I don't know, I probably have like 250 miles on it, and I'll work in this shoe a lot. It's a good workhorse, pretty reliable. We're still going. Have not ran in this one. This is the new Vomero 17. It's gonna have a little more cushion, and they're using their Zoom X foam in here, so it's just gonna be a lot more responsive, a little softer than their other foams. I believe it's even just like a little wider too, which is kind of nice. So the previous model of the shoe, I tried it on, and even in the shop, it was just a weird shoe to sell. Didn't have like the most attractive look, didn't have the best fit, just felt kind of clunky, even though they did use the Zoom X foam. But this one just feels a lot more polished, rounded. I have so many shoes that I'm currently running in right now, but when I have just kind of walked around this shoe, it does feel super nice. I would use this for sure on long runs, like 15, 16, easily. Probably wouldn't do a workout in it, even though this foam is pretty responsive, but who knows? So pretty excited for this one. And last but not least, we've got the Nike Vaporfly that you, everyone, and even your mother have probably seen, whether that's in a race or running down the street or in the shop, and you're like, what are those? They're usually in some super bright color. This is not the newest version of the shoe. Depending on the style of running that you're doing and just overall fit, this shoe may or may not be for you. It falls in that category of the carbon plated shoes that I was talking about earlier, and this is probably one of the most popular ones. I have not ran a marathon in this shoe. I've definitely done like 20 miles in this shoe. All right, it's a little on the narrow side and doesn't feel as stable, especially around that heel portion, which is the main reason I don't run in it. And I just feel like where the cushion is placed, it just doesn't support me enough. But I still find it really good for anything on the track, 5K, 10K, even half marathon. And the marathon. Pros and everyone use this shoe for any kind of distance, but for me, in the way my foot kind of just fits in the shoe, it's comfortable, but I don't know if I'd want it for 26 miles. A half and shorter stuff, I've ran track races in it, and it feels really good. But at the end of the day, I think when it comes to getting a carbon plated shoe, they're all doing the same thing. The benefit of the shoe is pretty minimal from shoe to shoe at times, and I think whichever one's gonna be the most comfortable, I think is the way to go. All right, next brand that we're going into on running, and we got the Cloud Monster Dome Minded being absolutely filthy. It's still kind of wet. I ran in this shoe this morning, did about 12 miles. This shoe is probably my number one go-to shoe right now. Pretty much
for everything at the moment. I'm not doing anything kind of like race specific right now, just kind of getting back into training. And so I'm kind of forcing myself to do most of my runs in non-plated shoes, even my workouts, just to make myself kind of focus on form and just really force myself to get into certain positions that carbon plated shoes kind of get you already into by kind of pushing you, propelling you forward. Whereas in a regular daily trainer, you gotta just work a little more. Kind of compared to some of the other brands, definitely have a firmer sole. They have these things pretty much called, they call them clouds. And so depending on how you strike, because they have all of these clouds, basically, how your foot is landing, it could kind of bend and flex kind of in the direction that your foot wants to. They have this thing called the speed board that runs pretty much through the sole. It's pretty much just like a thin piece of plastic that gives a little bit of rigidity, but also a little bit of energy return, which is quite nice. And then added, I don't know if you could see it more so from this side, from like the ball of the foot to the toe off, it's got a pretty significant taper. So when you go from heel to toe, and right when you get to this ball of the foot, kind of rocks you to the toe real quick, and that's what kind of, yeah, just kind of gets you to that next step a little quicker. Probably one of the most durable on, some people would say like the Pegasus is pretty durable, but I could get 500 miles easily out of this. You could probably get 600. Not usually recommended for a running shoe, but to stay injury free, usually around like 400 is kind of when I say, all right, this is done. First, when I started wearing this shoe, I was kind of hesitant just by that firmer feel. It does soften up, but it's like the right amount of soft, which is super nice. This upper material, super durable. Like, it's almost kind of rough, but doesn't feel rough on the foot, which is kind of nice. But this shoe I've definitely pushed to the limits and have used them in longer workouts and longer long runs. But yeah, right now, hands down, this is my favorite shoe, and I will rave about this. It's gonna last you, 6+ months easy, especially depending on how much you're running. Next one, almost like the cousin to the Cloud Monster, is the Cloud Stratus. This is the previous model. They just came out with a new version of it that is definitely a little more updated, softer upper. What On is known for before is because they have kind of this cloud technology, they would leave a space open to kind of show their speedboard and like what it's doing. But you talk to anyone that's had Ons over the years, you always get kind of rocks and pebbles and stuff stuck in this, and then you end up bringing them into the house, or they're kind of dragging while you're running. They close that all up. Just the overall fit on the upper material is a lot nicer. But this shoe, because there's a little less cushion basically, and it is on that firmer side, still has the speed board, you do feel a little closer to the ground obviously, and it is a little firmer feel, but still has that kind of rock from heel to toe. And the energy return that you're looking for, just not as much shoe compared to the Cloud Monster. And then kind of, they've got other shoes that are gonna be a little lighter weight. You got like the Cloud Flow that just came out, really nice update. They're on the fourth version of that, super nice shoe. Really lightweight, firm, so it feels pretty stable. So sometimes people that maybe need a stability shoe or want something that's a little more stable, I like suggesting On just because it is on that firmer side. It can sometimes be a nice middle ground too. And if you really wanted to use something for cross training, the Cloud Stratus or like the Cloud Flow or some other lower cushion stuff, I think could be kind of a nice middle ground for something you're running in, but also cross training or weightlifting in. Sometimes when I feel like I'm using the Monster too much, I'll kind of use this just because at the end of the day I don't like my foot getting used to one shoe, so it's kind of nice to have all these different types of shoes and just kind of switch between them. All right, next shoe, we got the think I would like it. I'm not sure what's on actually. Take two. All right, next shoe, we got the newest version of the New Balance 1080. This is actually the first New Balance shoe that I've ever run in. I've tried on their stuff throughout the shop, never actually like got a pair and ran in it, but they always seemed super comfortable, and it's probably one of the brands we sold the most when I was at the shop. So I was pretty excited to get the 1080 just because the previous model was super comfy, had this like wider toe box. This one doesn't have as wide of a toe box. I think some people liked that and some people didn't. And they definitely had a little more extra space to kind of close that up. But it's still, I mean, their foam, their fresh foam is just comfy. It's soft, it's plush, but it's almost not too soft. It's kind of in that nice middle ground. The weird thing with this shoe though was, well, for some reason, I don't have a wide foot, but when I had the shoe on, it almost fit too narrow, or there was just like vertically not enough space. And so with this model, I don't know if it was just like this shoe in particular, like was defected or something, but I took out the liner just to create a little extra space in the shoe, and it's hands down the comfiest, the most comfortable shoe that I have right now. I know I said the Monster is like my go-to, but this one's like up there too. And it's definitely lighter than the Monster, so I might take that back. I don't know. Depending on the type of workout I'm doing, like the other day I did a workout in this and I was in like the mid 550s and I was able to like do a long run in it, but I can also go pretty quick in it too because it is light enough. It's pretty soft. And by taking that liner out, I don't know, I just like a little extra room in the shoe, and the foam itself is already super soft. And the amount of cushion is like not enough where I feel like I'm swaying side to side. It's probably my go-to daily trainer right now. I have some other models like the A6 Nimbus 26. That one's got like a ton of foam, ton of cushion, super soft. They did just come out recently with the new model, which is weird because they just released the previous model a year ago. And I think they just firmed it up a little bit just because the 20, was it 25 or 26? It was the 25. Was just, it's basically like a marshmallow. And sometimes that's nice, but this one's just got, the 1080 has just got enough cushion, still pretty lightweight, and I think pretty versatile. In that comfy category. The most different shoe that I haven't worn it too much. I use it more, actually I haven't used it in a while, and I should kind of take it out. I found myself using it on trails. This is the Ultra Torn 7. Ultra's definitely been making kind of its way into the run specialty space past couple of years, and kind of what they are known for is most shoes have this thing called drop, so pretty much the difference in height from heel to toe. Usually it'll be a little more cushion in the back, lower in the front, so it almost puts you in this kind of, just to kind of be up on your heels, so when you are running you're kind of going from heel to toe a little easier. And each brand kind of has a ranges of what they call the drop, the difference between heel and toe. They'll have a difference in drop. Obviously, the higher your heels raised, the less that your Achilles and calf maybe have to work, and then the lower it is, you have to try a little more to go from heel to toe and then press up. Ultra's kind of thing is they're known for zero drop. They have had a couple shoes come out recently that have a little bit of a drop, but their main thing is zero drop from heel to toe, meaning it's the same amount of cushion from the back to the front. And one of the bigger things that people also enjoy is this kind of like wide toe box, mainly just trying to go for a more natural way of moving while still giving your toes kind of rooms to spread out, what they call like a more kind of leveled cushioning. You still have a good amount of cushion, especially on the Torn 7. They've got models with a little less cushion and then some with a lot of cushion. But the Torn 7 is actually right in the middle. Some people love the shoe. I think it's actually really comfortable. I've worked 12, 16-hour days in this shoe, and I've definitely taken this on the trails just because I tend to like kind of like that wider toe box. Even though this isn't a trail shoe, it's still got enough where I can kind of do those lateral movements, and it's still pretty lightweight. Similar thing, I also take the liner out of this shoe. I just like having a little extra space, and it's still pretty comfy just with their foam. All right, last shoe I'm gonna talk about, and this is my race day shoe, and probably one of the most fun shoes to run in. I mean, at the end of the day, all of the carbon plated shoes are so much fun that you can't really go wrong. Ever since my first marathon, I've ran in Saucony. I don't have a pair of the Saucony Endorphin Pros that I've usually ran in, but their newest model, this is the Endorphin Elite. I just don't feel anything. It just fits my foot the best, and I think the way this rocker just at the front of the foot just makes my stride, for whatever reason, just kind of roll through a little better. And I think at the end of the day, just finding the brand that kind of fits your foot the best. Maybe it was just because of my first marathon, I didn't get hurt. I did cramp up pretty bad, but my feet were fine, and I was wearing Sauconys, and ever since then, I think I ran like 7 marathons, all of them in Saucony, so why try and run in something else when it's still working? Definitely a high price point with these, but are like any plated shoe. But as far as durability goes too, I feel like Saucony makes some of the more durable racing shoes. I mean, my other pair I have of these, they probably have like over 250 miles, maybe even almost 300. I usually wear those just because I know there's still like a little benefit from them, but they're not gonna be as fresh, whereas these I'm gonna wear for maybe like one key workout, but mainly just race day. But best advice, just go into your local running store or run specialty store, just try them on. They'll usually have, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different pairs of carbon plated shoes, and it's just kind of finding which one works for you, feels the best. Usually they won't let you return them, because these foams are pretty delicate and they can potentially kind of wear quickly. And depending on how you're running, some people will just kind of be stupid and do dumb things with shoes and try to return them, but usually all their stuff is final sale. But as far as like racing shoes goes, right now, Saucony is kind of the way I go. That's it. Let me know if you have any questions about shoes. Kind of fun talking about them. I didn't realize how many pairs of Nike shoes that I have. That's kind of wild. Got like 5 pairs. Crazy. Probably won't have to buy running shoes for probably the rest of the year. But not working at a running shoe store doesn't mean I have shoes coming in, so we'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, see you guys next time.